Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. This time we've got Vintage from Gaming Etc Acton, Mass, and I am on Dredge and gonna go ahead and draw an extra 7 cards pre-game thanks to Serum Powder. Might as well make it 14. So actually gonna avoid mulliganing twice here with Serum Powder. That's 14 cards removed from the deck. I'm going to lead out with Leyline of the Void. And here we've got Underground Sea. Ancestral and Chrome Mox into Mana Vault. Voltaic Key. Untopping Mana Vault. So this is a super dangerous situation. Chris has a ton of mana here. 7 mana effectively. If he draws Power Overwhelming, we're going to be in a world of Power Overwhelming. I keep doing that. Paradoxical Outcome, PO as it were. And Unmask going to grab Ponder, so leaving him with Force of Will. Really not too big a deal here. Dredge typically able to play through Force, especially game 1, by finding Cabal Therapies in the graveyard before you go to resolve your Dread Return. It's really the only reason why you need to resolve anything is just that Singleton Dread Return for your Kolgan Dragonlord or Elesh Norn. And got Grave Trolls being dredged off this Bazaar of Baghdad, filling the graveyard, Narcomoebas coming in off of the draw step as well. Gonna trigger the prized amalgams, 3 of them. And gonna flashback Cabal Therapy. See how many zombie tokens this is. Just 1. So 1 bridge right now. That's gonna hit the Force. And we see Oath of Druids. So we've got Oath and Voltaic Key. And gonna go ahead and sacrifice Bloodghast as well. Comes in off of that landfall trigger. And it's a question of if Oath of Druids is actually going to be good enough here. There's a proxy that I can't quite make out there. This is a setup that we're working on. Oath of Druids getting picked. There is Prized Amalgam coming in. So 13 damage, 2-turn clock. Great thing about Vintage here. Not over till it's over. As bad as this board position looks for Chris, if he draws that Time Vault off the top, that will be game. Of course, Time Vault implies even more outs. Cards like Demonic Tutor would also be an insta-kill, and then any card drawing, every single one of those draws is a extra attempt to win the game. So Narcomoeba comes in, Icarid comes in. Not a lot of cards left in the library, especially when you start the game exiling 14. It is of note that I actually only ended up with 1 Bazaar in play. Very often when you actually exile 14 at the start, very often you end up with 2 Bazaars. I don't want to say every time, but it feels like every time when you take a quarter of your deck out of the equation that you end up drawing into multiple Bazaars. And here we go. Gonna leave just 2 cards left in the library, it looks like. That Ancestral's already been used. And gonna Dread Return. Elesh Norn, and that is going to be a lethal strike right there. Taken down game 1. That is, as they say, the easy part. Game 1, you are heavily favored with Dredge, and you do expect to be winning most of the time. Though in Vintage, anything can happen. Oath is certainly a very powerful strategy that can steal games from Dredge. But now the real challenge comes in, and that's finding a way to beat a fully prepared Vintage deck with their sideboard hate. And very often you're talking about 7 dedicated cards to beat Dredge. Cards like Grafdigger's Cage, Containment Priest, Ravenous Trap, Ormod's Crypt. There's no end. Surgical Extraction. There's so many different angles that you could potentially run up against. Very often you want to just kind of play straight ahead, but it doesn't hurt to keep in mind that those other cards do exist. What you don't want to do is throw away certain wins just based off of not playing around a card like, say, Surgical Extraction or Ravenous Trap. I am on the Hollow One plan here. That is some tech fairly new in terms of the grand scheme of things when you look at the history of Dredge. It is kind of one of the newest, I would say, significant innovations in the deck. Cards like Unmask have fallen in and out of favor, but Hollow One is definitely a new talking point in the evolution of Dredge. And what that does is allows you to completely sidestep the graveyard hate. And Gurmag Angler was kind of the beginning of that plan, but Hollow One really puts it over the top. And I do think starting with 4 Hollow Ones likely where you want to begin your sideboarding with Dredge. And pretty much coming in every matchup. It really does allow you to sidestep whatever your opponent's bringing in for roadblocks. And when you're drawing them in multiples, it's extremely punishing. Seen Oath of Druids from Chris, along with a lot of the best cards in Vintage. See what he's able to do. We're both going to mull. So Dredge, for those unfamiliar, is going to mulligan until it hits Bazaar Baghdad. Now, that sounds like a terrible strategy. However, the printing of Serum Powder really made that a viable option way back in Mirrodin block. Dark Steel gave us this artifact that really doesn't have any use in-game, but before the game, what you're looking at is the ability to mulligan while it's in your hand without losing a card. So you exile your hand and you just draw that amount off the top. So for those of you who just seen Dredge in Legacy, what you're going to see here is this all-in plan on Bazaar because it's just that powerful. It gives you the ability to filter toward your sideboard cards, and of course it's just the best Dredge enabler that they've printed. There we see Bazaar at the front of the hand. And Ponder from Chris here. Land into Ponder. Can't tell if that's a volcanic or not. Thing I love about the Unmasked version is it does kind of push you to play a little bit more aggressively. You're going to want to activate Bazaar on your turn in order to find your Unmasks, which are very powerful cards. There we go. Going to go ahead and activate right away. Stinkweed Imp, Bridge from Below, and the Serum Powder, and then casting a Hollow One. Soul Ring into Voltaic Key. So super dangerous situation. Again, Chris with a ton of explosive mana. And threatens lethal with that Voltaic Key. Gurmag Angler makes it into the graveyard. No more Dredgers. Stinkweed Imp. Gonna get dredged again during the draw step, most likely. Exactly what happens here. Prized Amalgam and Narcomoeba, so an excellent draw step there. Setting up Icarid with Recursion. This game will inevitably be won by Dredge as long as Chris doesn't win first. That is really the situation here. It's almost impossible for Chris to stabilize here. It's really going to look like a win from Chris, or just inevitably losing to this horde of creatures. We're talking a real mismatch of zombies and horrors. Ingot Chewer takes out Soul Ring, and all of a sudden Chris goes from having 5 mana to 1 mana. I'm sorry, yeah, 5 to 1. Is that right? 2. Then he has to use the 1. No, so 4 to 1, sorry. There we go. But he draws Mana Crypt. Paradoxical outcome. So he is doing his darndest to find a way to win here. Looks like a Proxy Mox Sapphire. Continuing this chain. Man, that Soul Ring would have made a huge difference there, getting an extra card and giving him so much more mana. Right now, lethal damage being threatened with that Icarid in the graveyard. There we go for lethal. Wow, Ingot Chewer really brought in there for cards like Grafdigger's Cage, but the mana denial element of it absolutely winning that match. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.